The road to hell is paved with good intentions. We've all heard this proverb, but have you ever stopped to think about what it really means? Could acts of kindness done with the best intentions sometimes lead to harm, both for ourselves and others? Consider this. A manager continuously loads extra work onto a helpful employee who never says no, or a friend constantly asks for favors, knowing you won't refuse. What starts as kindness becomes a trap, draining you emotionally, physically, and mentally. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how can we break free from this cycle while staying true to our values? In this video, we'll explore the philosophy of kindness, where it goes wrong, and how societal and even religious interpretations of kindness sometimes bind us in harmful ways. Drawing from Nietzsche's critiques of self-sacrifice, Aristotle's philosophy of virtue, and religious teachings like Christianity's turn the other cheek, we'll uncover how to avoid the trap without losing our humanity. Stay with me as we unravel the fine line between kindness as a virtue and kindness as a burden. The philosophy of kindness. Let's start with the ideal of kindness. Almost every culture, religion, and philosophy emphasizes its importance. In Christianity, kindness and forgiveness are core tenets. For example, Jesus teaches in the Sermon on the Mount, if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. This principle of non-retaliation is meant to inspire compassion, humility, and peace. But here's the question. What happens when this teaching is misinterpreted or taken to the extreme? For instance, some individuals see this as a license for submission, tolerating repeated harm in the name of goodness. The abuser or manipulator might even invoke these teachings, twisting them to justify their actions. Suddenly, kindness becomes a form of bondage, leaving the individual unable to stand up for themselves. Nietzsche offered an unflinching critique of this mindset. He argued that excessive kindness, born from weakness or fear of confrontation, is not virtuous at all. It's dishonest. He believed that people who practice self-sacrifice without limits often suppress their own will and strength. To him, this is an act of dishonesty, not morality. Now compare this to Aristotle's idea of virtue. He taught that virtue exists at a balance point, the golden mean. Kindness then becomes a virtue when it's practiced with wisdom. If it tips too far towards self-neglect, it ceases to be a virtue and becomes a vice. In Aristotle's framework, you are not being truly virtuous if your kindness comes at the expense of your own integrity or well-being. 3. Modern context, when kindness goes too far. Kindness, often considered an unquestionable virtue, has become a double-edged sword in modern society. While it builds relationships and fosters peace, it can also make us vulnerable to exploitation. To truly understand this trap, let's link modern challenges to philosophical ideas. Workplace exploitation, or the kind employee. Imagine an employee who never says no, a model of kindness in the workplace. Nietzsche would see this as a symptom of what he called slave morality. On the genealogy of morality, Nietzsche critiques the way societies elevate traits like meekness, compliance, and self-sacrifice as virtues. He argues that these values often arise not from true strength, but from weakness and fear of conflict. This employee's endless accommodation may feel morally good, but what if it's driven by fear of rejection or a desire for approval? Nietzsche might say this person is trapped in a system that rewards submission while stifling authentic self-expression, ultimately creating a cycle of exploitation. Modern workplaces compound this by glorifying the team player. Employers may consciously or unconsciously exploit these traits, knowing that the kind person won't protest or push back. This becomes a trap, as Nietzsche warned. Kindness rooted in weakness leads not to fulfillment but to resentment and exhaustion. Toxic relationships and the weight of kindness. This dynamic isn't limited to workplaces. In relationships, kindness can be wielded like a weapon. Manipulators know how to exploit people who always forgive, always give second chances, and always prioritize others' needs over their own. Religious teachings can sometimes fuel this dynamic. For instance, turn the other cheek, Matthew 5:39, is one of the most quoted principles of Christian forgiveness. While the verse aims to promote peace, misinterpretations can lead people to believe that enduring abuse or mistreatment is righteous. The Apostle Paul emphasized bearing one another's burdens in Galatians 6:2, but even this can be twisted by those who want others to carry their burdens indefinitely. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard warned about the perils of blind conformity to social or religious norms. In The Sickness Unto Death, Kierkegaard argues that we must find an authentic relationship with moral principles rather than following them out of obligation. Without critical reflection, acts of kindness can become acts of despair, losing their meaning and draining us of our individuality. Cultural conditioning, the pressure to be nice. Modern society adds another layer of complexity. Social media perpetuates the be kind mantra, creating an environment where assertiveness or refusal can seem harsh. While compassion is celebrated, it's often weaponized against those who dare to challenge norms. Aristotle's concept of the golden mean is relevant here. He believed virtues lie at the midpoint between deficiency and excess. Kindness is only virtuous when balanced. Too much leads to self-neglect, and too little fosters cruelty. Aristotle's framework challenges cultural pressures to be overly nice. The person who gives too much, suppressing their needs to please others, isn't practicing true virtue. They're enacting a socially conditioned performance that benefits others at their expense. If kindness becomes a trap when practiced without boundaries or critical thought, how can we transform it into a source of strength? Philosophers across eras have grappled with the concept of virtue, offering insights into how we can reclaim kindness in a way that empowers rather than diminishes us. Nietzsche. Strength over submission. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a bold rethinking of kindness. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he writes about the Übermensch, a person who creates their own values, free from societal constraints. Nietzsche believed that true strength lies in asserting one's individuality and rejecting moral systems that perpetuate weakness. When applied to kindness, this means practicing it on your own terms, not because it's expected or imposed, but because it aligns with your personal values. The Übermensch embodies a type of kindness that is deliberate and measured, not driven by fear or obligation, but by a position of inner strength. For example, saying no to someone who tries to take advantage of your generosity is not unkind. It's an assertion of self-respect. Nietzsche challenges us to break free from what he calls the morality of pity, which often rewards self-sacrifice at the expense of personal growth. Aristotle, kindness as a virtuous mean. Aristotle provides a framework for practicing balanced kindness. In his Nicomachean Ethics, he describes virtue as the mean between excess and deficiency. For Aristotle, true kindness lies in moderation. Too much civility leads to self-neglect, while too little cruelty fosters harm. In modern terms, this could mean learning to differentiate between genuine compassion and self-destructive accommodation. Being kind doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means thoughtfully choosing when and how to help others in a way that preserves your own well-being. For example, helping a friend with a genuine need is virtuous, but repeatedly rescuing someone who refuses to take responsibility for their actions crosses into enabling. Aristotle would encourage us to approach kindness with reason, ensuring it supports both ourselves and the recipient. Søren Kierkegaard's philosophy emphasizes the importance of authenticity in our actions. In Fear and Trembling, he delves into the idea of acting with sincerity and a commitment to one's values, rather than being swayed by external pressures or societal norms. When applied to kindness, Kierkegaard's approach calls for deep self-reflection. Are you being kind because it's authentic to your values, or because you feel obligated? Genuine kindness isn't about meeting social expectations, it's about expressing who you truly are. This authenticity ensures that your kindness isn't hollow or begrudging. It becomes an act of genuine connection rather than a performative gesture that leaves you feeling trapped or resentful. Many religious teachings, when interpreted thoughtfully, also emphasize boundaries within kindness. For example, Proverbs 4:23 in the Bible advises us to guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. This suggests that preserving your own emotional and mental well-being is essential to being truly kind to others. Buddhist philosophy also warns against the attachment that can come with unchecked kindness. The concept of upaya, skillful means, teaches that our actions should be guided by wisdom and discernment rather than blind adherence to ideals. This encourages us to approach kindness with intention, considering its effects on both ourselves and others. One of the most fundamental practices in escaping the trap of kindness is to set firm boundaries. This is essential to avoid manipulation and protect your emotional and physical energy. Nietzsche's call for strength lies in assertiveness, being able to say no when necessary. It's not about being harsh or unkind, but about understanding where your limits lie. Practice saying no in small, low-stakes situations. Over time, this builds your capacity to refuse larger, more demanding requests. Communicate your limits clearly. For instance, when a friend or colleague asks for a favor you're not willing to do, say something like, "I value our friendship, but right now I can't help you in this way." Remember, setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. By respecting your own needs, you teach others how to respect your time and energy. As Aristotle emphasized, virtues lie in the mean, the balance between excess and deficiency. Overgiving kindness leads to resentment, while withholding compassion might breed cynicism. Selective compassion allows us to focus our energy where it's most needed and appreciated. We practice kindness intentionally, ensuring it serves both ourselves and others in a meaningful way. Assess where your kindness truly has impact. Are you helping someone who genuinely benefits from your support, or are you enabling a toxic dynamic? Practice compassion by focusing on relationships that nourish and empower you. Don't spread yourself thin trying to be all things to all people. Learn to recognize when your kindness is becoming a tool for someone else's selfish needs. Be true to your values. In line with Kierkegaard's call for authenticity, genuine kindness comes from a place of true personal conviction rather than social pressure. By being authentic in your kindness, you avoid performative gestures that are motivated by a desire to be liked or accepted. When your actions align with your personal values, kindness becomes meaningful rather than empty. Reflect on your motivations. Before acting, ask yourself why you are being kind. Is it because you genuinely want to help, or are you simply trying to meet social expectations? Commit to kindness in a way that feels true to your heart, rather than giving out of guilt or obligation. Strive to be honest and transparent in your kind acts. Don't hide your true feelings or avoid difficult conversations just to keep the peace. The power of discernment. Philosophies such as Buddhism's upaya, skillful means, teach us that kindness should be strategic, guided by wisdom and discernment rather than reflexive and impulsive. Knowing when to engage and when to withhold is essential in maintaining a healthy balance. True kindness is never about indiscriminate generosity, but about applying your efforts in ways that uplift both yourself and others. Before acting kindly towards someone, ask yourself whether it is truly the right moment. Does your kindness help build a constructive path forward, or does it perpetuate a cycle of dependency or entitlement? Use wisdom to assess whether the recipient genuinely benefits, or whether you might be doing more harm by enabling an unhealthy dynamic. Sometimes withhold your kindness not out of meanness, but out of wisdom to guide others towards self-reliance. We've explored how kindness can easily become a trap, weighed down by societal expectations, religious interpretations, and the pressures of modern life. But as we've also seen, the wisdom of Nietzsche, Aristotle, Kierkegaard, and even ancient teachings guide us to a more powerful practice of kindness, one that aligns with our deepest values, preserves our well-being, and empowers both ourselves and those around us. True kindness is not about giving until it hurts or pleasing others at your own expense. It's about knowing when and how to show up for others in ways that are honest, balanced, and rewarding for all parties involved. Take a moment to reflect, and as always, share your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you found value in these ideas, and don't forget to subscribe for more philosophical insights on how to lead a more empowered, authentic life. Together, we can free ourselves from the trap of kindness and reclaim it as a force for genuine connection. Keep learning, keep growing, and thank you for watching.